You won't believe the way 82-year-old Dynasty star Linda Evans lives these days. She was chopping her own wood in the middle of nowhere after making $100,000 every episode. The TV personality who had it all left Hollywood, relocated to a secret refuge in Washington, and vanished entirely. That's not even the most absurd aspect, though. 74 years old, she was arrested. She came back in a big way at 79. Await her actions with a live eel on TV, which caused a stir on the internet. On November 18, 1942, Linda Evans was born in Hartford, Connecticut, as Linda Evenstad. Her identity was heavily influenced by her Norwegian ancestry. The little farm in Nes, Hedmark, where her paternal great-grandmother had resided before to her immigrating to the United States in 1884, is where the name Evenstad originated. She was born to Arlene and Alba Evenstad as the second of 3 daughters. Her home was always filled with creativity and performance because both of her parents were professional dancers. However, despite growing up in an entertainment-rich environment, Linda was a shy youngster who shied away from attention at all costs. Her family relocated to North Hollywood, California, from Hartford when she was just 6 months old. Despite having no ambitions to work in the entertainment sector, this change placed her squarely in the center of it. Hollywood High School was where she went. Where she attended classes with Carol Wells and Stephanie Powers, 2 future celebrities. She never truly took inspiration from her parents' passion for performing. They flourished in the limelight, while Linda would rather remain in the background. Because of her chronic shyness, she found it difficult to feel at ease in social settings. Her parents realized she needed assistance getting over her phobia of attention when she was 14. Instead of encouraging her to pursue a career in Hollywood, they urged her to enroll in acting classes in order to boost her self-esteem. She was hesitant at first. It was scary to stand in front of people and perform, but acting gave her something different. It made it possible for her to express herself in a secure manner. Rather than feeling vulnerable, she felt liberated. By taking on several roles, she was able to access feelings she had previously suppressed. Everything changed after that choice. She and a friend attended a TV commercial audition when she was 15. Linda was there to encourage her anxious friend. She didn't plan on trying out, but destiny had other ideas. She was asked if she wanted to read for the role by a director who saw her at the audition. Despite the fact that she had never tried out for anything before, she accepted. She was shocked to receive the role. She had never acted in a way she had ever thought of before that unplanned incident. Opportunities increased as a result of the commercial. She soon began working as a model and securing tiny TV appearances. She made her speaking debut on the then-popular Bachelor Father series in 1960. She had her first encounter with John Forsythe on the set. Then, neither of them was aware of it. However, their paths would recross years later in a way that would alter their professional futures. She also had an appearance on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, another popular program from that era. Although these early parts were modest, they helped Linda gain confidence in a field she had never intended to pursue and gave her experience in front of the camera. The Big Valley, an ABC Western series that ran from 1965 to 1969, starred Linda Evans as Audra Barkley at the age of 23. In her career, it was a turning point. The show chronicled the struggles of the wealthy Barkley family to preserve their ranch in the San Joaquin Valley of California. Evans and Hollywood icon Barbara Stanwyck co-starred in all 112 episodes. And up-and-coming musicians like Lee Majors. In the family, Audra Barkley was more than just the youngest sibling. She was sympathetic, strong-willed, and not afraid to defend her convictions. During a time when television was beginning to feature more self-reliant female characters, Audra was unique. She became one of the most adored characters on the show because Evans gave the part personality and dimension. Initially, she nearly declined the role. She thought about leaving because her partner at the time didn't agree with her. However, the producers wouldn't let her out of the deal. Everything changed after that choice. In 1966, the show won an Emmy for Outstanding Achievement in Film Sound Editing, demonstrating its success. It was more than just a well-liked show to Evans. She became famous as a result of the chance. Working with Barbara Stanwyck was one of Evans' most significant career experiences. Stanwyck was renowned for being extremely professional and having a no-nonsense attitude. She mentored Evans and showed her how to command attention on film. In one particularly memorable instance, Evans found it difficult to comprehend the significance of being present in a scene. Stanwyck kicked her onto the set during filming without providing an explanation. The lesson became ingrained. Evans subsequently attributed her confidence as an actress to that particular occasion. Their relationship went beyond performance. During the run of the performance, Evans' mother died. She was comforted by Stanwyck, who even said, "I'll be your mom now." That was all that was meant by that simple sentence. Stanwyck was a guiding influence in Evans' life, not just a mentor. She instilled in her the qualities Evans carried with her throughout her career: hard work and discipline. Television was well familiar with Linda Evans by the time The Big Valley concluded in 1969. In the mid-1970s, Linda Evans took up daring and surprising parts, departing from the benign persona she had developed on television. She co-starred with Lee Marvin in the 1974 film The Klansman. Richard Burton as well. Based on the novel by William Bradford Hawaii, the movie depicted a racially divided Southern community on the verge of war. In the role of Nancy Poteet, Evans portrayed a young woman whose assault led to escalating hostilities between the town's white officials and its black population. Although the movie attempted to address important societal concerns, some thought it did so in an inadequate manner. Many believed it to be exploitative, rather than stimulating the mind. The Klansman is still important because of its unvarnished portrayal of racial relations in a turbulent time, even in light of the criticism. It was also one of O.J. Simpson's early acting parts, which heightens its historical interest. Evans played an entirely different part in the criminal thriller Mitchell, which starred Joe Don Baker, in 1975. Greta was her role. An elite escort lured into a perilous corrupt society. The movie followed Baker's character, a combative detective who uses his own brand of justice to take on strong offenders. Greta wasn't merely a romantic interest. She was entangled in the more significant conflicts of the movie, which made her a crucial component of the narrative. It was not a good time for Mitchell. Critics wrote that it was forgettable and referred to it as thoughtless small-screen entertainment in the New York Times. It did, however, find an unlikely second life years later. Because of its exaggerated action and tough man cliches, it became a cult classic when it was shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 in the 1990s. Evans' performance demonstrated her courage to take chances in movies that received negative reviews. Her time on The Big Valley as Audra Barkley was obviously different from these roles. They allowed her to explore more nuanced, darker characters, but they also demonstrated the challenges of making the switch from television to film. Nevertheless, her perseverance paid off, as she was able to complete one of her most noteworthy undertakings. Evans and Steve McQueen co-starred in Tom Horn in 1980. The movie depicted Tom Horn's true story. A renowned scout who became a vigilante after getting entangled in a fatal altercation over cattle rustling. As a man struggling to find his place in a world that is changing and plagued by memories of his violent past, McQueen portrayed Horn. One of the only individuals who showed Horn compassion and sympathy was the schoolteacher Gwendoline Kimmel, portrayed by Evans. In a plot that was characterized by anarchy and treachery, her character added warmth. Tom Horn's production was fraught with difficulties. McQueen's deadly disease, mesothelioma, was already causing her health to deteriorate. His condition gave his performance a subtle intensity that made it one of his most moving performances to date. The movie itself got mixed reviews. While some critics thought McQueen's pacing was erratic, others complimented her depth and honesty. As time went on, Tom Horn became increasingly popular, particularly with Western enthusiasts who thought it was a lesser-known film in McQueen's canon. For Evans, the movie demonstrated her ability to compete with one of Hollywood's greatest stars. It also signaled a significant change in her career. Her most iconic role was still to come, despite the fact that she kept performing in movies. When Linda Evans was cast in Dynasty as Crystal Carrington, she was 39 years old. That was deemed too old for a leading actress in Hollywood, but producer Aaron Spelling disregarded the norm. He was looking for a warm, traditional glamour person. Evans had both. Her role on Dynasty began on January 12, 1981, when she played Crystal, the oil tycoon Blake Carrington's secretary-turned-wife. At first, she was paid $15,000 for each episode. However, that figure had risen to $100,000 by 1989, making her the highest-paid television actress. For Evans, this was a second opportunity. Her career had waned by the late 1970s, despite her fame on The Big Valley in the 1960s. At first, it didn't seem like Dynasty would be her big comeback, but it was. The first season was a difficult one for the show, placing 29th out of all the ratings. In 1982, Joan Collins, Blake's ex-wife Alexis Carrington, joined, and everything changed. Once she arrived, the Dynasty took off. By 1984, with 20 million viewers each week, it was America's top show. It wasn't enough to look good to play Crystal. The job required a lot of physical labor. When Crystal and Alexis got into a fight in a lily pond in 1983, it was one of the most well-known scenes in the show's history. Filming took place over 2 days, and Evans insisted on performing her own stunts. That scene attracted 30 million viewers and became a cultural phenomenon. While fans enjoyed watching Crystal and Alexis compete, off-camera action wasn't as fun. Collins and Evans did not get along well. In order to manipulate the way a scene unfolded, Collins, a skilled scene stealer, enjoyed practicing repeatedly. Favored a more organic method. Tension arose from this stylistic disparity. Collins struck Evans in the jaw by mistake during one of the combat scenes. Evans didn't find her later quip humorous. She once objected to filming a scenario at a charity banquet where Alexis degrades Crystal. When Evans' delivery was chastised by Collins during a table read in 1985, the tension reached its zenith. Evans barged out. Their rivalry kept the audience interested despite the tension. The highest-watched episode of Dynasty, the Moldavian Massacre season finale, aired in May 1985. In this cliffhanger, a royal wedding was targeted by terrorists, entangling Alexis and Crystal in the confusion. There were 35 million watchers of the show. Off-screen, however, Evans was having trouble. Her body had suffered from the antics, and she now experienced persistent back discomfort. The screenplay was getting more and more ridiculous, and she felt stuck. 1989 was her breaking point. She left after filming just 6 of the season 9 episodes. I felt like a puppet, she added, looking back. Both Crystal and I were trapped. Evans' performance was acknowledged despite the difficulties. She tied Dallas actress Barbara Bel Geddes for Best Actress in a Drama Series at the 1982 Golden Globes. Despite never winning, she had 4 additional Golden Globe nominations and an Emmy nomination in 1983. Fans loved her, and she won 5 People's Choice Awards in a row, setting a record until Jennifer Aniston's tenure on Friends. Evans made appearances on 6 magazine covers in 1 month during her peak of fame. In 1984, she inked a $2 million contract with Crystal Light, making her one of the first significant brand ambassadors on television. When her Workout and Beauty book was published in 1983, it sold 500,000 copies. When Rock Hudson appeared as Crystal's former lover in 1985, it caused the Dynasty's largest off-screen controversy. According to the script, Evans and Hudson were supposed to share a kiss. Nobody was aware at the time that he was suffering from AIDS. Hudson gargled antiseptic mouthwash before filming to keep her safe. After his diagnosis was made public, Evans encountered criticism. The crew stayed away from her, as well as several who declined to share a cosmetics trailer. She then claimed that I suddenly became a pariah. Although 28 million people had already seen the kiss by that point, ABC even contemplated removing it from upcoming shows. Her rivalry with Collins, meanwhile, never truly subsided. Evans' acting range, according to Collins, was between A and B in 1986. Evans missed more than 10 years of Dynasty reunions because she felt so offended. Collins only acknowledged that we were water and oil when they both appeared on Hell's Kitchen in 2006, but the show required both. Evans, worn out after almost 10 years of high-stakes television, quit Dynasty in 1989. She was exhausted by the experience, despite becoming one of the most recognizable personalities of the 1980s. Although the show made her renowned, she subsequently said that it also made her feel stuck. Her iconic role in Dynasty, however, solidifies her place in television history. Linda Evans' life was influenced by reinvention, love, and treachery. Her 1968 marriage to actor-director John Derek appeared to be a Hollywood dream come true. Even though they were 16 years apart in age, she was attracted to his charm and confidence when they first met on the set of The Big Valley. Because he wanted her to concentrate on becoming his perfect wife, she put his profession ahead of her own for almost 10 years, giving up acting. Because she believed in the life they were creating together, she made every effort to keep the marriage going. In 1973, Christmas Day arrived. That morning, Derek sat her down and confessed his love for Bo Derek, a 17-year-old. He'd met Bo on a Greek film set when she was 16 years old. Since the encounter began when she was still a minor, he remained in Europe with her until she became 18 in order to evade California's statutory rape accusations. Evans was in pieces. Later on, she acknowledged that she felt unworthy and even thought about taking her own life. Even after the divorce was finalized in 1974, the pain persisted. After 2 years, Derek wed Beau, and the two remained together until his passing in 1998. That betrayal, as terrible as it was, altered Evans' life in unexpected ways. In 1974, she called her agency and pleaded for employment since she was determined to rebuild. Too much time had passed since she left the industry. And she was cautioned by many that Hollywood had forgotten about her. She wouldn't have it that way. With the intention of reproving herself, she accepted any part that came her way. She was cast as Crystal Carrington on Dynasty in 1981, earning $100,000 per episode and taking home a Golden Globe. Years later, she came to an ironic realization. She never would have accepted that post if she had remained married to Derek. Because he wouldn't let her work on projects without him, he had dominated her professional decisions. Though it also freed her, his treachery had been the worst thing that had ever occurred to her. Beau Derek acknowledged decades later that she still felt guilty about the affair, calling it a terrible event that devastated her. Evans, however, had come to terms with it long ago. Rather than harboring resentment, she showed Beau forgiveness, and the two even became friends. According to Evans, "I still love them even if I'm not with them." Simply said, "My love is different." It was intended that her second marriage would be different. She wed Stan Herman, a Los Angeles real estate tycoon, in 1975. Herman appeared like the ideal spouse for her, and she needed stability after the turmoil of her divorce. He taught her investment techniques that helped her become a self-made millionaire and assisted her in her financial recovery. However, although their business relationship prospered, their marriage did not. Herman desired a conventional housewife, but Evans had found her passion for acting again. Because of their divergent lifestyles, they got divorced in 1979. Herman, in contrast to her first marriage, was a lifetime buddy. He gave her their house in Beverly Hills, where she spent decades living, and he kept giving her financial advice. Evans was the first person to be by his side after he was diagnosed with thyroid cancer in 1986. While caring for him during therapy, she even contemplated getting married again. The best medication he could get, according to a close friend at the time, was to have her back in his life. Despite the brief termination of their romance, his impact endured for a lifetime. She was able to negotiate huge contracts throughout the dynasty thanks to his financial expertise, making her one of the top-paid actresses on television. Even though they were in love and respected one another, Evans was disillusioned with marriage after their divorce. Later on, she acknowledged that she was sick of being a housewife. "Now that Stan and I have achieved success." Although it is tempting to consider getting married, she never did. She adopted independence in place of two failed marriages. After leaving the dynasty, she made a significant decision by the late 1980s. She bought a remote lake property in Washington state, distanced herself from Hollywood, and vanished from view. She didn't have to win over anyone for the first time in her life. She cultivated vegetables, cut wood, and gave up worrying about her appearance. She remarked, "I no longer had to worry about how I looked," recalling the wigs and Botox she had used while dating artist Yanni. Life away from the limelight wasn't always quiet, either. Her chronic discomfort was caused by a slipped disc that occurred in 2006. She contemplated suicide since the pain was so great. Her sisters were dealing with life-threatening conditions at the same time. One of the worst times in her life was that. She later acknowledged that she could truly see why individuals may remark, "Maybe I don't want to live." She did, however, live. She gained a fresh perspective through it all. There was a lesson in every traumatic event. She said, "I discovered that I deserved better." Moments of romance came and went. Yanni, who was 12 years younger than her, was her partner for 9 years, although she never got married again. By 2023, when she was 81, she had no regrets. She told Northwest Primetime that happiness isn't derived from fame. It results from your life choices. Following a DUI conviction at age 74, she declined offers of reality TV, authored a memoir centered on self-discovery, and transformed into a champion for elder care reform. A sobering reminder of the challenges that accompanied aging, the episode was brought on by the medicine she was receiving for her spinal injury. Her journey from deceived spouse to self-sufficient individual became an example of perseverance. "When you take back your life, anything is possible," she once stated. Additionally, she wouldn't alter anything if she could go back in time. She said, "I would not alter my past. It shaped who I am now." The opulence of Beverly Hills was abandoned by Linda Evans in favor of something very different. She relocated to Rainier, Washington, in 1989, where she lived in a 70-acre estate with a river, guest cottages, and a small group of close family and friends. She purchased the property while she was still a Dynasty star, but after Hollywood left her, it became her permanent home. "I live in heaven here," she said, sharing her home with her sister, nephew, and ex-stepdaughter, Sean Derrick. Her lifestyle changed completely. She downsized to a 2-bedroom house filled with natural light and spent her days gardening and hiking. She wanted something real, far from the superficiality of fame. "You want to be where your heart feels safe," she told O, adding that getting older had given her more certainty in who I am. She also embraced alternative healing, studying Eastern philosophy and naturopathy after being diagnosed with idiopathic edema. Her search for spiritual understanding led her to J.Z. Knight's Ramtha's School of Enlightenment, a controversial group that played a role in her decision to settle in Washington. Long before wellness culture became mainstream, Evans was already promoting the connection between beauty and well-being. In 1983, she published the Linda Evans Beauty and Exercise book, a 125-page guide combining fitness, skincare, and mental health. The book, released by Simon & Schuster, sold over 500,000 copies. It included step-by-step workouts, skincare routines, and affirmations like, "Beauty begins within." She collaborated with her ex-stepdaughter, Sean Catherine Derrick, on the project, introducing ideas like intuitive eating and meditation, rare concepts in the fitness culture of the 1980s. In 1992, she took her wellness philosophy further, launching Linda Evans Fitness Centers, a chain of women's gyms run by CEO Mark Golub. The centers focused on holistic health, featuring aerobic classes set to music by her then-partner, Yanni. Though the gyms eventually closed, Evans remained committed to health and beauty, later hosting infomercials for Rejuvenique, an electric facial toning mask. "I wanted to help women feel strong, not just look strong," she said, proving that for her, fitness was about more than appearances. In 2009, at 66, Evans did something no one expected. She won Hell's Kitchen, becoming the oldest champion in the show's history. The UK audience watched in shock as she defeated comedian Adrian Edmondson in the live finale, drawing 5.8 million viewers. What made her victory even more surprising was that she had no professional cooking experience. Her culinary skills were mostly limited to home cooking and memorizing recipes for Dynasty kitchen scenes. Her start on the show was rough. Head chef Marco Pierre White kicked her out of the kitchen on the first day for overcooking scallops, telling her, "You're not ready to hold a pan." The physical challenges were just as intense. During a fish market challenge, she became the first contestant to kill a live eel with her bare hands. "I volunteered to learn, even if it meant becoming a murderer," she later admitted. Her comeback moment came during a pasta challenge judged by Mario Batali. Her lobster and truffle ravioli outperformed dishes from trained chefs, proving she wasn't just a novelty contestant. White later praised her unshakable elegance under fire, a sharp contrast to younger competitors like Bruce Graballer, who quit, and Anthea Turner, who was eliminated for poor knife skills. Evans donated her £100,000 prize to charity, but her real victory was cultural. She became Hell's Kitchen's most unexpected winner and sparked a 237% increase in Seattle tourism inquiries from UK fans. At 79, Evans returned to acting after an 18-year break, taking on a powerful role in Swan Song, 2021. The indie film, which premiered at South by Southwest, cast her as Rita Parker Sloan, a retired opera diva confronting old age and lost fame. The role was personal. She drew from her struggles with chronic fatigue syndrome in the 1990s to bring authenticity to her performance. Working alongside art house veterans like Udo Kier and Jennifer Coolidge, Evans delivered a striking performance. One scene in particular stood out, a single 90-second take where her character applied makeup with trembling hands. She rehearsed it for 3 weeks, ensuring every movement reflected the vulnerability of aging. The film scored 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics comparing her performance to Gloria Swanson in Sunset Boulevard. Though she was only on screen for 11 minutes, her presence had a lasting impact. Within a month of Swan Song's release, streaming views of her 1983 TV movie, Bare Essence, jumped 41%. Her resurgence in the 2020s brought her an entirely new audience. Clips of her legendary Dynasty catfight with Joan Collins racked up 14.2 million views on TikTok. Her Hell's Kitchen eel scene went viral, reaching 9.7 million views. Suddenly, Gen Z was fascinated by her. The fashion world took notice too. In 2022, her metallic ball gown from Dynasty's infamous Moldavian Massacre episode sold for $47,000, 325% above its original estimate. From soap opera stardom to spiritual exploration, from fitness guru to unexpected culinary champion, Evans has never followed a predictable path. Reinvention isn't just something she embraces, it's who she is.